Hello. Welcome to a new chess video. It's another video in my beginning chess drill series. So this one is called Night School, and I got this diagram over here that you should really get used to knowing. If you heard the phrase, every piece is better in the middle, have you heard a knight on the rim is grim? Well, take a look at all these numbers. They basically tell you how many moves a knight has based on where it is on the board. That's if it's wide open. There's nothing in the way. So in the corner, a knight has 2 moves, and that sucks. That's the worst spot for a knight to be. And in the middle, in these 16 squares here, it's got 8 moves. Okay, it gets better the closer the knight moves to the middle. From the corner, moving inward, the number goes up, and moving in this way, the number goes up. Okay, so let's say we're starting on G1. The natural move, knight to F3, gains it 8 moves. Okay, from F3, it's got 8 squares it can go to. Okay, let's go over here. Just to illustrate, a knight only has 2 moves from the corner. And in the middle, in these 16 squares here, it's got 8, anywhere in those 16. Okay. And that's because away from the edge, all of the knight moves become possible. Okay, so let's start Night School. We're going to start with a pawn right here and the knight right there. And what we're going to do is move around this pawn so that we can surround this pawn with knight moves. And the point of this is to show the beginning student how close quarters a knight can be, if that makes any sense. Actually, how tight of a route that a knight can take. Okay, so every time the knight moves, you're going to want to replace the square it was on with a pawn, just so you can't go back. Okay, so let's make our first move. The square we started on is a pawn now, so we can't go back. We only got 1 move here, so let's take it. 1 move again, so let's take it. And this repeats itself. So every time the knight moves, we're going to put a pawn in its place. And it's that easy. It's 8 moves. We've surrounded 1 piece with knight moves. Okay, what you want to do next is replace that knight with a pawn again, and replace this pawn with a knight. Because now what we're going to do is target these squares. We're going to do the same thing all the way around. Again, every time the knight moves, replace it with a pawn, except this middle one. We're going to have to use this again and again. Okay, so we got 8 moves here. You can start any one, it doesn't matter. Which one do you want? Let's take F2. Okay, so now we got 2 moves. If we go back in the middle, we're going to have to come back in and out, in and out, in and out. But moving over here, we can reach another square. So let's do that. Replacing the squares it was on. We have to go back in the middle now, because from that square, there is only 1 more square to go to. So we can repeat this pattern on the other side. Let's do that now. Oop, my knight disappeared. Okay, we can do the same pattern we had on the other side and come back to the middle. So let's do that now. Okay, and now look, 4 moves remain, and it's just the pattern we just did, except turn that way. Okay, it's very easy. Once the student sees this, they will gain valuable pattern recognition for knights. Knights got to hop around in and out of squares to get to the right one. Okay, now we're going to go back because that's our only move. And we were not able to get these for some reason. Why is that? Well, from where the knight is, it's going to take 4 moves to get to those squares. And since we were working with moving around the white pawns, there's no way to get to that square from any of these. So the next part is to move these pawns to the corners where we couldn't get them before, and then get rid of these guys because we don't need them. Again, replace the knight with a different knight, and now challenge the student to grab those pawns. If each one of those pawns takes 4 moves to get to from where it is, do you think this will take 16 moves? Well, it shouldn't, because we're going to use a very familiar pattern that we know. Let's just make a move. Okay, we've moved 3 times, but now we can take a pawn. And once we take 1 pawn, we'll be able to get the others very easily because of a certain pattern that exists here. All of these pawns are 2 knight moves away from each other. So now the finish is really easy. You can choose any 1 pawn, it doesn't matter, and just finish them off. And I think this takes 10 moves. And we will not reuse a square that we already had, so that's a bonus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I believe. Okay, 10 moves. But those are 3 cool lessons in Knight School. I'll do some more in a future video, but I like to do those 3 in series in that same order, because it really shows the student how undifficult it is to use a knight. What you're going to do is start with this position and tell them you want for the knight to touch every square around this pawn. Oop, not that one. And this one's easy enough because once they make a move and you put a pawn down, there's always only 1 square to go to after that. So they're forced to keep it moving. And that pattern should lock into their heads. Because it's not very difficult to see. And then progressing to this one, telling them you want them to touch all of those squares. Well, they kind of have a basic idea of how to do that. They've got to move in a circle type pattern. And by the time you get to the end of this one, you will realize that you can't get the corner pawns or the corner squares, because just from where the knight is and the restrictions you're putting on it, you're not able to reach those squares. You could from these, right? So that's why it falls directly into place for the last part of this drill. You have them get one of the pawns, and then the other pawns are very easy to grab after that. It's a nice, efficient drill, and I think by the end of it, the student has a better grasp of how to use a knight and what it's capable of. Thanks. Remember to use this graph if you can.